Welcome back to Zero Gravity Live, the Weightless Weekly Tech Talk podcast, bringing all the latest discussions right to you. We're sponsored by Object First UPI, the best storage for Veeam. Thank you, as always, for letting us continue to run this show. And if you're watching on YouTube, please do us a favor and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're listening in podcast form, why not leave us a nice review? That helps us out tremendously. And no matter where you're watching from, let us know where you're watching from. Where in the world are you tuning in from? Let us know in the chat of your platform of choosing, and we'll give you a shout out if it's somewhere cool. And anywhere is cool. So please post that. You'll notice we're joined by someone a little bit different. You've probably seen him on the show before. Sterling is traveling, so we're greeted by Ryan Post. Welcome back to the show, Ryan. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Glad to be back on. I think it's my closest span in a while, like 2 weeks being on the show. So happy to be back.
That's right.
Cleaned up a little bit this time, as people may notice.
Yeah, looking fresh. Glad to have you back. In the spirit of keeping tabs on what's going on in your life, we're going to play What's in Your Office. Ryan, what's in your office?
There's a lot of stuff in the office. I was hoping a kid was going to bust in. I could say I have a kid in the office, right? The glories at working at home, but not today. So I'll have to go with my caffeine addiction, right? So I just actually poured a nice little espresso shot. So I do have an espresso machine that I keep right by the desk. Little pods that you use throughout the day, get you through maybe that little afternoon slump. So I love caffeine, love coffee. Start with the drip coffee in the morning, move into maybe an espresso shot, maybe two, depending on the day. So, but no, I love coffee, love caffeine. So it's great.
What does a 2 espresso shot day look like, Ryan?
You don't want to know. That's too far down the rabbit hole for one of those days. No, just want to keep the brain working. So.
I envy you a little bit. I used to be quite the coffee addict myself. I know Matt and me, whenever we travel, we'd always go get some coffee together. I am coffee free as of the last 4 months now. It's wild.
Wow.
It used to be my personality. Now it's nothing to me. So what a difference time makes.
The caffeine free. I've thought about that, seeing how long I can last, but I just can't. I can't take that step. So
you do get used to it, and then it's weird because you wonder why you ever drank it in the first place. And that's where I'm at right now. And at least it's saving me some money.
That's always
Matt, how you doing today?
I'm good, brother. So does that mean you're drinking decaf or you're just cold turkey on coffee altogether?
What I drink in the middle of the day, if I need like a little something to kind of pick me up, is hot chocolate. My wife has bought this jar of like pure cacao. So I'll just pour some like little cacao wafers into a cup, pour hot water over it, and do some honey. It's really good. It's really good. Yeah, it's tasty.
I think for me, part of the problem is I just love coffee. I love coffee more than the caffeine. Like I don't drink coffee to get it doesn't really do that. Maybe it's because I drink too much of it, perhaps. And my body's like, all right, dude, whatever. We're not going to give you any pick me up from coffee. But I love the flavor so much that, Anthony, you know this. Like when I go to Starbucks, it's plain black, nothing in it, just coffee. Just the caffeine, and that's the way I always like to go. So maybe it's time to try something new. So you asked me about what's in my office. I'll share this, and then while I've got the sharing, we'll just roll, into my topic. Unless you'd like to share something in your office, Anthony.
No, I'm good, Matt. I just want to see what you got going on.
All right, so check this out. So this is a gizmo that I actually have in my office. I think it's pretty cool, and certainly for those techies out there, you'll appreciate like the pixel display. So this is called the Lametric clock. And basically, this is a smart clock, perfect for, just sitting on the desk. And it's fully programmable with all kinds of things that you can have it display. You can kind of see here in the video, there's some examples, but some of the things I use it for: weather alerts. You can actually have it linked to your phone. So when you get a notification, it'll actually show you and scroll the information. So even though the real estate of the screen is relatively small, it scrolls up, right, and left so it can actually display messages. You can have it do stock tickers, crypto tickers. You can build in automations, with your smart home. As an example, just because, when the kids get home, things start going crazy. I actually have an automation. So when my wife gets home, it'll alert me, that she's within the geo fence on this little clock. So I
What?
know if there's anything that's going on and I'm recording, I could wrap it up real quick because things are about to go haywire. So anyway, really cool little gizmo. And it actually has what I would call an app store, essentially, where you can actually go through and select exactly what you want to put on this thing. It auto scrolls the apps. So if you've got weather and stock tickers and things like that, rather than leaving up a static, piece of information, it'll do like a rotation all through it. So little gizmo, I've had this thing for a couple years now. Absolutely love it. What do you guys think?
So, firstly, I just have to say it because I keep seeing it in that little video. There's a Wii U tablet in their marketing video, and it's just good to see a Wii U tablet again. But beyond that, this might be the first useless piece of technology I actually might go buy after this
Yeah,
show because I love it. It's just
it's
cool.
useless. It's
It is
useless.
useless. It's absolutely useless. But I love the way it looks. I
Yeah.
like that it has different pieces of data displayed, and like just it kind of reminds me of like a light bright if I
Yeah.
didn't have to do the
Yeah.
work on it, like this is something I want in my office. What do
That's
you think, Ryan?
absolutely right.
No, I mean, I see that beneficial. I made the joke about kids, but yeah, be able to have something that's lets them know I'm on a call without opening the in and seeing like my typical headphones on with a red light because they usually don't notice that. It kind of reminds me of the more elaborate calendars you see out there advertised for like the families that they have up on the
Yeah.
wall to see shared calendars, all that. So definitely, I think something. I mean, I think there's a use. I wouldn't say it's useless to be honest.
It's just to me, it's like desktop candy the way I look at it.
Yes.
It's something cool to sit on your desk, and it does have a micro or not a microphone. It's got a speaker in it, so it can actually make audible, chimes and alerts if you turn it on. So yeah, one of those little things that I think I saw it on maybe an Instagram ad. I'm like, you know what? I'll bite. This looks pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, it wound up to be a pretty solid device, and they keep building on the thing. And I think when I was scrolling, yeah, so like where was it on this one of these actually shows like the market? Yeah, like right there. So
Oh,
that's their Lametric market. So it's basically like their own little app store, and you can go through and add these little apps to the actual clock. So anyway, enough about that. I thought it was pretty cool, useless piece of tech, like you said, Anthony, but it certainly looks cool on the desk.
It looks very cool. I love it. I know since we got you up and sharing, do you want to show us your topic for the day?
Yeah, and my topic isn't necessarily, a new piece of tech news, which is typically my go-to, whether it's drones or,
I'm
AI
shocked.
or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I was looking at the CISA website, and one of the things that really stuck out to me, and it's like, we harp on security and being vigilant and always talk about humans or a potential weak point, right? So there's a lot of stuff on this site, and obviously, if you've not been to it at CISA.gov, you should. A lot of great intel on this, but I saw this Shields Up, and I was like immediately back in Star Trek or Star Wars days, right? Shields Up, and so this one was an immediate catchy title, and I started looking through it, and I came all the way down to these quick tips, and I just wanted to leave this up and talk through some of these because I feel like we pound these every time we're on live streams or in some of our videos, but here it is, totally unrelated to Object First, right here on CISA's own website. And like every one of these, Anthony, I know, at least for you and I, with some of the videos that we've recorded in the past, all these topics could not be more important, to maintaining security. Avoid phishing scams, check your privacy settings, remember to log off, check the website URL. So
mm.
this is another one that really jumped out among everything else because I think most people can appreciate the benefit of multi-factor, authentication. Don't name your password your pet name or the P at sign SSW0RD because that's super secure. I mean, we all know those are some best practices, but I know in the past we talked about checking email senders domains to make sure that it's a legit company. So if you receive an email from somebody that says, I don't know, CEO at bellsouth.net or, CEO at chase.com, you want to make sure it's a legit suffix and not a Gmail account, right? Or something that's completely spoofed. I think the other part of that is the website URLs. Because a lot of times, if you click on a malicious link, it may redirect you to something that looks close to right. But if you really pay attention to the domain, it's not the actual domain, right? And that's a phishing site. So anytime you're logging in, they're just stealing your login credentials. And, the last thing I'll say on this, and I'll shut up, let you guys share your opinions on it. But one of the things that I personally am always super skeptical about when you're browsing the web and you log into sites, legit sites, check your banking information, all the things, you obviously have cache and you have things that are going to save if you choose to have them save your login credentials. So anytime I hit a site or see an email where it's asking me to log in, shields up. Like, why is it asking me to log in? I already log in here. It shouldn't be prompting me if this is a legit site. So that to me is the one thing I kind of wanted to double down on with this topic is make sure that if something is asking for your information and it maybe shouldn't, double check the website URL and make sure you're at where you thought you were going when you click the link. What's y'all's take on this?
I mean, one of my favorite best practices is just an extension of what you just said, Matt. You see something that says, "Hey, log in," an alert, something's happened to your account. It comes through an email or text, whatever. Don't click that link. Go directly to the vendor's website and log in directly. If it's AT&T saying your password's been compromised or whatever, go to AT&T.com, log in, and verify on their website because they'll always have that alert. You'll always get that information directly there. It's better to be safe than sorry. My favorite of these, because I'm a little bit of a password fiend, and I've written blogs on Object First's blog page. If you want to see all about why I think passwords are going to die in the next 10 years, is choosing strong passwords, and not only that, but it's leveraging a password platform. Because if you look at like passwords in general, they're pretty useless. Like we've well surpassed their need and their security expertise. They don't really serve a purpose anymore beyond just being a key to get you into that website. But a platform can make any number of stupid, robust passwords super easy for you. So whether you're in Google Chrome, Safari, you're just using your phone, all of these have built-in password generators and memory banks. Take advantage of them. Don't ever use your own custom created password again. It's just better to go with something you don't understand and can't remember, because then neither can the bad actors who are trying to get access to your data. What's yours, Ryan?
Oh, my password. It is no. I'm just kidding.
It's the same number as my luggage.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's four letters. That's about it. It's Ryan. No. No. I mean, I agree. I feel like I have to constantly tell people this, especially in family when they come for assistance with things. Their Facebook got hacked, or Instagram, whatever social media platform, or even when I get emails that are strangely for my parents, which I don't know how. Even getting reservations of a trip they're taking or something, right? It's very weird. But knowing that, hey, I shouldn't click on this because, A, it's not for me. I also think it's important, especially depending on your email platform, is the report to spam or report phishing button, right? So it can help build that database on what's going out within those applications. And that way it helps reduce down a little bit more of maybe what gets sent out. But I think it's just doubling over time with these attempts. And it's not just emails, right? It's also texts. I'm sure we've all gotten the text from our CEO about get some gift cards on their number. So we all know that's not true.
Yeah, the other one too that I feel like is really important is remember to log off. Like, how guilty are we, myself included, where you're done and you just hit the next website, and not that that's the end of the world, but certainly if you logged off, at least the next time you hit that site, you will be prompted to log back in. So I think that's a good practice as well. And we're not just talking about when you leave the Airbnb with your Netflix account signed in.
Yep. No, it's we live in a little bit of account hell when you think about it. There's just way too many places with all of our data spread across, way too many different accounts, it's impossible to manage it. So the best we can do is just apply best practices where we can and accept the fact that we're going to make mistakes and people are going to get access to our data.
Yep. Assume breach.
Yes. Be proactive, right? Zero trust. Well, that's a really good one, Matt. I'm glad you brought that up because I think it's always good to have a refresher. Ryan, I'm curious, what have you brought for us this week?
Yeah, let me get that shared out here real quick.
Yeah, no
So
problem.
I had one thing I think, especially within our realm and what we do, and there's a lot of, I think, controversy going out there with VMware and Broadcom these days, and these are my opinions, nothing reflective of what we're talking about. But no, I think a great move they made here was allowing for Fusion Pro and Workstation Pro for personal use. I mean, I know myself, I have enough power in a little home lab PC that I can run Workstation, but also run that on top of Windows. We get a lot of things done and test a lot of things, whether it's through vSphere, which is great because you can virtualize that ESXi host, run some virtual machines, especially with what we do. It helps with testing a lot of that, just all in one little place, nice and organized. And it's great that you don't have to fork up the money anymore to do that. And I think for some of y'all, Mac users, if y'all were into the Fusion Pro at any point in your life, I think a lot of people are just straight Mac these days, and a lot more integration, with those Mac applications, and be able to work with Microsoft. That running Fusion Pro really, it hasn't been necessarily move that you would have to make recently. So I think it's great. Something I think that's maybe alleviated maybe some of the pain that's come out in regards to licensing around VMware, from a corporate standpoint. So again, I think it's something, if you're in the realm of home labbing, just being a hobbyist in the IT space, maybe on the development side as well, it's a great option. Something that you can go out there, access for free, download, get up and running. So I think they're on version 17 these days. So I'll be updating mine here soon.
Yeah, I personally love this as well. And Ryan, I know you and I, when we got our start at Veeam, like this was one of the first things that we did, is like built
Oh
some
yeah,
sort of either laptop lab or home lab to really get hands on and learn this stuff. So any way that can be delivered in a free fashion, I'm 100% for, and I've been using VMware Workstation forever. Now that I'm on Mac, I've used Parallels, and I want to go back to Fusion because Fusion was great when it was on the Mac, and then Apple came out with their silicon, and things kind of went a little
oh yeah.
haywire for a minute with VMware Fusion. So yeah, so really, great platform to explore, some of the virtualization tech and all the surrounding tech, and also to have it mobile. And I think, to me, especially from a technical background and a technical role, that's arguably one of the most important pieces to this, is being able to just throw it on your laptop and take it with you. That way, if you need to showcase something that would normally need, an ESXi cluster, well, you can just spin that up right on your laptop,
Oh, yeah.
and it's ready. You don't have to worry about complex, networking. It's literally just all right there on your laptop. So I love this. I think it's a definite huge pro, like you said.
It's. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, I was especially being mobile now that you can throw a bunch of resources into a laptop, right? You're not just limited to a few gigs of RAM, right, and a low processor. I mean, there's some beefy laptops these days to make it mobile and have that mobile lab. So,
Yep.
It's funny you both mentioned learning on this when you got started. A piece of advice I'd recommend. I don't know if anyone watched this show is very young in their career or just starting in their career, but tools like this becoming open source or becoming free to use is the best way to get your foot in the door. Just knowing how to use this kind of application, putting it, installing it on a local workstation or in your laptop, becoming familiar, that helps out in the initial interview phase. Whether you're going for an internship or a full-time position, this knowledge, that'll just carry you so far. And I love that they made this tool usable. I used to use this back when I was in development all the time. It was paid, I think this is absolutely great. So it's great from both the professional resource as well as educational, which I think it's very 50-50 on folks using it for both reasons.
Yep.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks for bringing that up, Ryan.
Yeah.
I brought a topic today that I thought specifically about you when I saw this. I'm like, we have to talk about this because Ryan's going to be on the show. All right, let me pull this up here. Have you heard about this? Windows 11 Recall AI feature will record everything you do on your PC. And firstly, I just love this image they've got here because it reminds me so much of Apple's old time machine. Just calling that out before we get into the actual meat of it. But what Recall is it is basically going to record every click, every interaction, every single thing you're doing on Windows, in your apps, on the desktop, throughout the entire platform, and kind of create like a memory of it. The real question I have about this is why? They're leveraging an AI, which who's not these days, to be able to kind of spit back to you what you did, how you did it, where it was, when you did it. I mean, they got examples of like, oh, when you're building up a PowerPoint, you can see the individual clicks and like where you put things and all that. And I do see some interesting concepts and ideas that could come from this, but do y'all really want Microsoft recording every single click you're doing on your Windows 11 operating environment? Like, I get the reason why you'd build this or how you'd come to build this, but I don't understand the why. And I thought we could have just a discussion on what this means. Will you use it? And why do you think this exists?
So my first question has something to do with what you just said. Will you use it? Is this a choice? Is this optional? Or is this going to
Yes.
be another one of those Windows 11 enhancements that they're forcing you to use?
Now, based on this article, which came from Bleeping Computer, it sounds like this is something you'll be able to opt out of. It is leveraging Copilot, which I think they're going to start just bundling and building into Windows 11 moving forward. But
Yeah.
I'm assuming that too is like Cortana, where you can turn it off and
Right.
choose not to use it. This seems way too big of a feature to basically just opt anyone into and not allow it to be turned off. And they seem to imply as much.
Yeah.
So that leads to the next question is, will you?
Or why?
Like
I look at this like all these years with virus scanners and protection software to avoid keyloggers, and here Microsoft goes and just deploys one for you free of charge. All you got to do is slide the toggle over. I think there's a fine line. Really, my only take here is there's a fine line between backup and recovery and just flat out spying. And all I think about is what happens when that database, wherever that stuff is captured, gets compromised and gets leaked and then gets exploited out onto the world. That's going to make these AI spoofers or the bad actors now that we've talked about on the show in previous episodes that are using AI to actually present themselves as someone that they're not. All that's going to do is give them more ammo, because now they actually see how this person works, how they interact, where they go. I don't think it's necessary. I can't. Now, granted, I've only had about 2 minutes to digest this. I can't come up with any good logical reason why something like this exists for a desktop computer, which is what Windows 11 is for. Now, if this was like a server, maybe, because people shouldn't be, going places and doing things on servers that are personal, right? It's a business asset. I could see the tracking ability of a business asset being potentially useful, rolling back minute little changes here and there. Windows 11, I don't think it's got a place personally.
Now, I do want to call out this little piece of text right here I've highlighted on the screen. This came from Youssef Mehdi, who is one of the engineers in this project. Your snapshots are yours. They stay locally on your PC. You can delete individual snapshots, adjust your date ranges of time and settings, or pause at any point right from this icon of your system's tray. And you'll also be able to filter what things get saved. So if you don't want it tracking every app, you don't have to. But a concerning point for me was the fact that this is driven by the hardware locally. Like, I use Windows exclusively for gaming on my PC. And all I could think is, this is going to cost me frames per second if this is running in the background. So I'm immediately going to turn it off.
Yep.
Now, Ryan, I know as our resident Windows advocate, I need to hear why this is good and great. Please enlighten me.
I wish I had a great answer for this is good and great, but I'm kind of with Matt. Is an option that you're forced into or not into, and again, for the limited time of seeing this article, just kind of seeing it up on the screen, it's hard pressed to figure out a use case right away. I mean, I want to try to get, I want to do the recall and have your memories of what you do. I mean, this isn't, on your phone taking a picture of your kids and it's going to the cloud and you can see all those memories and it's piece of it. This is what you've done on your PC. If I think about some of the other tools that you have, especially if you want to look in the corporate world, we're all using Office 365 products, right? We're using the PowerPoints, the Word, all the document creators. They all have the editing function that you can go back and see any changes that have been made. And I don't know where exactly this comes into play. Maybe it's some sort of marketing gimmick for maybe the non techie folks out there that are out there. I don't know. I hard pressed right now off the top of my head to figure out a reason why somebody would want this, and it's very strange.
So
I mean, go ahead, Matt.
So Sterling added a comment there in the chat. I can actually just show it up here, and let's talk about this for a minute, because they're marketing it as a context tool, essentially to enable a more comprehensive search, which really begs another question. How much metadata mining is too much metadata mining? You know what I mean? It's like if you've got, let's say, an Excel spreadsheet that has sensitive information within it, let's say payroll, right? Stuff that you just wouldn't want to share publicly. Where does the line need to stop on what you can sift through and actually incorporate into some sort of rich context search mechanism, right? I kind of feel like we are 100% on the wrong side of the fence if we're tracking every single movement on somebody's computer for that reason. I mean, I can understand benefits of, hey, if I had 40 PowerPoints and I was trying to remember the one that included, I don't know, a capacity, and I could just do a control F and search capacity and somehow it would show that. Okay, that could be useful, but where does that line stop? You know what I mean? Like, where do you say, okay, well, I'm not going to look inside the document. I'm going to look at the document's file name. Arguably, that's not going to be as useful. But then if you give it access to inside the file, where do you draw the line in the sand with, okay, well, now that's confidential. Now I don't need this. It's going to be more of a burden to configure and tweak this thing to work the way that you want it than just not to have it at all, like, to me. So it's like, I don't know where they're trying to take this, but on the surface, like you said, Anthony, gaming or not, this would be one of the first things I disable.
It's interesting too, because the way that they even market it, it's called Recall, which immediately reminds me of Total Recall, but that's neither here nor there. But you look at the image and it's Time Machine. It's like the Mac Time Machine. It's individual pictures being lined up in a carousel. So I can go back to this point in time and see this piece of data. Like what Sterling and you just talked about is something I would love to have personally, as someone who does marketing day in, day out, deals with lots of PowerPoints and Word documents. If I could quickly search capacity and then get a list of most used on this document and this PowerPoint, I can find what I'm looking for way faster. But putting it on a timeline is an interesting choice, because I'm not too concerned with what was I doing 6 hours ago. I'm more concerned is, what is this thing I'm looking for and how do I find it? So it's a curious, a lot of times when you look at software, this is not just Microsoft, this is any software developer. Engineers will try to solve problems that don't exist. And I think that's always been something that, we see a lot in the industry. The famous example is the juicer with Wi-Fi built in, because we all need Wi-Fi in our fruit juicer. We solve problems that don't exist, and that's the engineer creed. But I'm kind of curious, because I know this is going to get installed on all of our boxes. We all have a Windows PC somewhere. When this comes out and when we start to use it, does it actually prove to be useful or not? Or is this just more feature for feature's sake? And I don't know, but I can't stop thinking about it. And if you want a really good time, if you're bored and it's Tuesday after Zero Gravity's over, go check out this article and just have some fun in the comments section. Because let me tell you, our takes are nowhere near as good as the folks in the comments section on this article.
That's the best part of these articles. Yeah, I just think about it, steering it back to our whole emphasis of security. It's like, if you assume a breach, like we talk about with zero trust, Microsoft, let's just say, is not immune to breaches, right?
That's
We
correct.
know this.
No one is.
So, exactly. So, tracking this level of detail, to your point, with a timeline, eventually will get leaked. Even if it's on your own computer, your computer is likely connected to the internet, or it's not doing a lot at some point, right? So, what happens when it does get exposed? What's that going to do, for bad actors and AI that can sift through that and build a profile on you? It's just, I don't know. I think it's unnecessarily to almost somebody's engineering a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. Now,
Yep.
the only thing I will say is, you call out Time Machine. I have had situations, but really this is just like a file level recovery, which Veeam does. There's a lot of solutions that offer this, but I have had situations where I deleted something, say off my desktop. I needed to roll back and get the latest version. That was painless in Time Machine. You just go back and there it is, restore, done.
Mhm.
But to be able to track all the changes and all the clicks and all the like, that's just too much. Like, it's not needed.
Yeah. And I
At
think
least,
it's another example of AI being used just so generously and not really thinking about like whether or not we should, but just doing it
yeah,
because we can,
right,
I
right,
mean, I think that's the trend, right? With a lot of
it is the
organizations, a
trend.
lot of tech companies is AI, right? You see all the jokes out there of all the big sales kickoffs, and the first thing it's all about AI, and really, what is that going to bring to the table? And then I always go back in my mind thinking of movies like I Robot, right? With
yeah,
all this
Hmm.
AI, what's this going to evolve to over the
yep.
years? Because everybody wants to have AI, everybody wants to have machine learning, but really, where is it going to go? What's going to be that end? And is it there's a lot of other trends that were on the rise, right? Cloud's always been on the rise, but now there's kind of that trend, people coming back out of the cloud, right? So this could be kind of a ever looping with all these technologies, right? Of having their eyes and then coming back down a little bit. So
You know where it's going, Ryan. Judgment Day. We've all seen the movie.
I'm ready. I'm ready to John Connor my way out of this
I mean,
situation.
the only dirt bike that's got 32 gears. Come on now. We've all seen that movie. Yeah, it's where do you stop? Where does it become a useful technology to now we're just doing it because we can and potentially cause more harm than good? So I think security is going to be even more important than ever when you look at new features like this. Make sure you're not just default nexting with installs. Make sure you read what information they're collecting, what you're agreeing to, because guaranteed all those toggles when you install, let's say, a fresh Windows 11 computer,
right,
once this is live, will automatically be enabled, guaranteed. So you will have to go back and disable it if you don't want something like this live on your system. So definitely make sure you don't just skip through the verbiage and read what you're agreeing to, when you do that initial setup, is all I'll say.
Just a pro tip for any gamers out there, because I do a fresh install of Windows every 2 years. All you have to do, Google debloat Windows
Yeah.
when you do that fresh install, and there'll be plenty of guides to follow through and make it as low resource usage as possible so you can eke
Yep.
out the most amount of frames in your games. It's funny, we're sponsored by Object First, Utbee's best storage for Veeam, but like one thing I love about Utbee specifically is it only does one thing, and it does one thing very well. It acts as a storage target for Veeam. And when we created this product, it was through this mentality of we're going to do this one thing and we're going to do it very well. And we're not going to sacrifice
right.
this one thing by adding more bloat to it to make
Yep.
it fit those use
Yep.
cases. And I think a lot more businesses could follow this model, and we'd probably have a lot greater customer satisfaction in general if we
Yeah.
just target like, what is it that you're actually trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? Not what are you trying to cram in and check boxes with?
I absolutely love how you pulled that back together, because just because you can add more levers to pull does not mean you should.
Yes.
Right. And it's exactly the way that we engineered Utbe, to your point. It's like, could we have given you the choice of all the different RAID configurations that you could go pick from? Sure. Would that be best practice? Would that be optimized? Absolutely not. Could we somehow, guarantee performance and all the stuff that we had tested in R&D? No, because we can't control how you're tweaking it, right? So we've optimized it in accordance with Veeam's best practices. So just because the levers could be pulled doesn't necessarily mean it's a better solution. And I immediately knee jerk back to my loving Apple iPhone versus your Android users out there. It's like, just because I can install this crazy custom theme doesn't mean I should, and likely will introduce crashes and other issues, right? So sometimes less is more.
I mean, I think it goes back to the saying, what, from the 1960s of the U.S. Navy, right? Keep it simple, stupid.
Love it.
And
I
I think
love it.
a lot of things have gone away from that, and they add the complexity because they think there's a need for it, or they just want to get into the mainstream, right? Adding in those keywords and having the architecture, right? Everybody else is using. So
Yep.
again, kind of tie it back around. Keep it simple, stupid.
I love it.
It's a great thing we're doing with Oopie. So
Yep.
I didn't realize that saying was that old. So I learned something today. Thank you, Ryan. And if our audience is curious on how we keep it simple and stupid, I mean, it's not stupid, but we do keep it stupid simple. So it's all about how you adjective that word. We are giving away a free pass to Veeam On, multiple, I believe. Scan this QR code if you're interested in attending. Maybe you're in the Fort Lauderdale area, maybe you're in the greater Florida area and you just want to drive down, check it out. Definitely worth scanning this. Swing by our booth, say hi. The three of us will be there. Sterling will be there. So all of your favorite zero gravity folks will be on the floor. We'll be shooting some live events there as well. So it's a win-win for everyone. If you're interested in going, scan that code and hopefully we'll see you there. And that does it for the show this week. Really good topics, gentlemen. Firstly, appreciate you joining us today, Ryan. Always good to have you on and bringing the heat with the stuff today.
Always
any closing thoughts? Yeah.
No, I think agree. Great show, great topics. Y'all put up a great show here. I'm just glad I can join and contribute.
Thanks, Ryan. And you, Matt?
Yeah, thanks for joining, Ryan. Nothing else for me. I feel like we've, increased paranoia a certain degree like we always do, which is always the goal. That's literally on our show notes. Make sure everybody leaves more paranoid than they came in. So mission accomplished per usual. But yeah, like Anthony said, if you guys are going to be down at Veeam On, be sure to swing by the booth. What is it? G2, right? G2 is the booth number.
That's
so
right.
Be sure to swing by, say hi, check us out, and we'll see you guys there.
All right. We'll see you on June 3rd at Veeam On. But until then, thanks for watching. And thank you again to our sponsor, Object First, for letting us put this show on. For all of you out there, stay weightless, stay frictionless, stay zero gravity. Peace.